Hello there. Today we look into this code here, which is a Python script that gets long-tail keywords from Google Autosuggest. So what you have to put in is the input is like a keyword, like a seed. And then what it does is it adds a letter to the end of this keyword that you input, and then it gets the results from Autosuggest. And Autosuggest is like this when you go to Google search and you start typing and you see a list of things that change as you type along, and that's called the Autosuggest, in case you don't know, from Google search. And this code here, there are others of course, but I just picked this one as an example. This one here, it adds one letter to the end of it. It goes through the alphabet, and it uses, I think, numbers too, and then it captures the new Autosuggest and adds them on to a list, and then at the end it returns the list. So the website I got this from is called permavore.com. Scrape the Google Autosuggest with Python. Yeah, so it is using like parallel threading, like so it runs like more searches because they're quite a bit, as you imagine, it goes through the entire alphabet. So it uses threading so that it runs that much faster. There's also a little note here in this, because obviously, Google don't want you to use too many connections in a too short a time. Probably they don't like you to do that at all, but since it's publicly available, non-sensitive information, it should be legally okay, but I'm not a legal advisor, so I don't take my word for it. I just show you what it does and how it works. So what it says is you should not use more than 50 seed keywords. The seed keyword is the one that you put in to start this process, and you can put in more than one, of course. You can enter you can submit a list. It reads like a CSV file. I will show you this in a little bit. A CSV file, and then it uses all these keywords to do this process. So we have 50 is the maximum, and then it says it book it slower, but it also, Google might block your script. So if you have thousands of them, you should use these values here. Wait time is like, every time it starts one thread, it waits a minute before it starts the next one. So at least here, not 1 minute, 1 second, I think. This is second. And it does not do more than 10 threads that it starts at the same time, or that have run at the same time. It's determined by a pool. We'll see that in a minute here. So in this case here, we only have like one or so. I only had one to test this, and I only did a test with it. So it waited 5 seconds, and it had a maximum of 20 threads. So it does, here's the language it does it in. this is the list of characters it adds onto the keyword to submit these and to get new suggestions, right? So we start in Python. I'm not sure whether you know that. This here is the definition of a function, the parameter or parameters, and then it's indented. That's a requirement, but at least 4 characters has to be indented. So that's how you know this part here is part of the function. Once you go down, you can see here that there is no indent, so this part here is not part of this function anymore. So we know that this, besides that there's a return, we know that this is the end of the function here. So now we are at the bottom, so we know all this code here is functions. Like there are actually only 2, because of the indents. So then once we go down here starts the program. By the way, I'm using Visual Studio, because I could use it for this. I could use something else, but I like to use the same program for all my programming if possible. Even so, I have experience with Eclipse and Android Studio too, but I don't really like to use different things because it's easier to have always the same, and I'm familiar with it. I don't have to remember how was that, what do I have to do. So I'll use Visual Studio. It works fine. You can debug it. What you have to do to debug it, you have to go to debug and then you have to attach it to a process. I think that's what I had to do. Can't remember. I think so. Let's see. What does it do? I hope it doesn't take 5 minutes to open up. No, there it is. No, that must have been something else. Okay, but it works in debugging. So this here is the file that we create. Where is it? This is the file, and if I open it up, the first line is a header line. That's not what this program says, but I found out that you have to put a header in. And then the second one, this where these keywords start, and then if you have more than one, the next one will be the next line and so forth. Or no, I take that back. I'm sorry. I think what do I have to do? No, it's alright. You write them on, in one row, in one column. Jeez. So yeah, so I only have this, and my keyword seed is IT snippets, of course. So what it does then, it reads it. Pandas that's PD, stands for pandas here. It's like a short tool you use, and that's right here. See, this is pandas. You import. Don't worry about these wiggly lines. This has to do with my Visual Studio, but it works. So that's how you write this here. And then when you use PD in your program, you get, it's like a variable for it, or and class instance, I guess. So, or module. It says here module. See. So. Where did we go here? Yeah. So here. So this is a method within the pandas to read a CSV file, So we read this file, then the result, it reads it into a data frame, and then the data frame is a specific data set, I would say, format. So then there are methods for this data frame that you can save the result from reading this file into different formats and different, types of data. So in this case, so we load this to the frame data, and then write it to a list. That's the result list from all from the output. So now here we have this, what we just said with the threading, parallel threading. So we have like a thread pool executor. We call it executor, and that's the result from executing this method with this keyword. And we do that for all the keywords that we had here in this list after we read the CSV file. Yeah, so in my case it's only one, so the four keyword and keywords, there would be only one loop, right? Because I only have one keyword. If I would have more, then it would loop through here, and it would execute this method with each of these keywords in there. And the executor is like wrapped around it, and it will take care of the parallel threading. So it basically will create a new thread each time for each keyword, and then it will submit or it will start the method. It goes to the entry point for the method with this keyword. So now we could go to get Google Suggests. So it goes in here, and then it has the keyword, and then it starts adding these characters to create a new list, to get a new suggestion list. So it creates the list with all these added characters, right? So then here there would be the query parameter with the keyword plus one letter, one character, and it does that for all of them. So that would be like from A to Z, and then it grabs these, or it gets these suggestions from Google results by executing a query, and the return result, the return from the method would be the new suggestion list. So we go to make Google request query, which is here, and that here is what we indicated earlier, that we have to set a wait time, that we don't get blocked, and that it doesn't get too slow when we have too many threads at one time. So we have here a sleeping time that will be 1 second, or 5 seconds in our case. Yeah, so then we have here, this is like the root URL that stands before we add the query parameter for the Google Suggest queries. And then we have these parameters. The client Firefox, there's like client Chrome, and there's something called toolbar, which gives you a different format of output. There's one is JSON, and then there's another one for XML. I think when you use toolbar, it's XML. I didn't try it because that's fine with me, and I only tried it once. I'm not doing like SEO for other people or anything like that. I just needed long tail keywords for my own purpose here. So parameters, then also the language. We defined it up here, EN for English, and then Q, the query that we submitted here, which was like the keyword plus the character. And then these are HTTP headers you have to submit. We will do some web scraping scripts where you can see that one of the methods not to get blocked is to use to craft user agents that are different. They have like different values here for different constellations for browsers, browsers, let's say it this way. And then then we craft the request. It's a GET request because we want to get the information. We have the URL here, and then the parameters are submitted here as a separate item in this method, which is this array, and then it's actually a dictionary. And then we have the headers, which is this part here. So now when we submit this, we will get a response back which contains the new results. So when the status code is 200, that means it was successful. Then we get the suggest searches, which is then we know it's a JSON result. So we load this as a JSON, and here we have where the data are. The data are in the content field or property of the response variable for the request. So and then we decode this here with UTF-8, and here we have it, the first one. Okay, so and then we return these search suggestions, and then here, in case we don't get the status code 200, then we receive an error. So now we have here we go back where we call this. So then the result for this suggestion is here, this what we had here will be returned, and we will save it under the suggestion. And you can see that this for loop here, it goes through all these keywords and through all the keyword plus letter for the alphabet, and it creates the suggestion here, a new list of suggestions, which then will be added to the suggestions list. So it's like a list of lists, if you will. So once we get through this, so we have here these suggestions for the keyword plus A to Z character, and then we go. Now apparently there might be empty suggestions. I didn't notice this. I didn't have that. It probably depends on what the keyword is. So yeah, so here we have this empty keyword removal, a suggestion removal. So then it returns these suggestions after it's done, which would be then here. And here we get the result for each of these parallel threads, which is this here. So that would be one instance of the futures Google thread poll executor return, and then within these future result, or with the future.result here, we get the suggestions, and then we have here one which we add into the results list with the key. The key is this here. So let me see where the output is. So forget about this. I did that, but you can do this. So this will be the key here, which is my keyword. And then here, these are the suggestions I received for my one keyword. So you can see that after it creates this result set or results list, then we use pandas again. We create a data frame from this results list, and we have to tell it what columns we need here, or we want the keyword and suggestions column, which would be like the header for these columns here, the suggestions and the keyword. And then we write this to the CVS file. It's also a pandas, or no, it's a data frame method. And this is the output file that I just showed you here. Keyword suggestions CSV. It doesn't have an index here. Yeah, so and then we get this here, it just tells you how long it took. And so I thought that was very nice here, this example. And long tail keywords are very important, obviously, to get a higher ranking for Google. So you would add this into your whatever your project is, say a website. You use your SEO plugin and you can add these, or whatever it is. So I thought this was a really nice example, and I hope you enjoyed it to see that, and I look forward to showing you other examples of very nice coding examples. And I wanted to repeat this again here. The source is a primavor.com, and it's called scrape the Google Autosuggest with Python. Okay, so if you like this channel and its videos, then subscribe and like this video. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, there will be more information in the description about any other project that I'm working on. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you. Goodbye.